Hoş geldiniz. Welcome. How many people speak English? How many speaks just Turkish? Just want to find out. Anybody can't understand Turkish in the crew? Here? 2? 4? Okay.
5, 6.
Okay, 5, 6. Okay. Then I will try to do hybrid. 2 dilde yapacağım. Yelta da öyle. Suha da İngilizce yapacak. Değil mi? You can do English, Arabic as well, maybe. But we will do in 2 languages. 2 dilde yapacağız. Hoş geldiniz. Silent Üniversitesi'nin hikayesini anlatacağız biraz. Eylül'ün başında Biennial açılırken şurada ufak bir tanıtım yapmıştık ama sunum yapmamıştık görsellerle. We didn't do a proper presentation in September. It was more social event with food and gathering of a lot of nice people. Also some of our members from other countries. Başka ülkelerden gelen üyelerimiz de vardı Eylül'de. Daha sosyal bir toplaşma olmuştu. Şimdi biraz hikayesini anlatacağız Silent Üniversitesi'nin. Ben önce hikayesini anlatacağım. Geçmişini, son 10 seneyi. I will just explain at first the last 10 years of story of Silent University. Sonra Yelta bu son durumumuzu anlatacak. İstanbul'daki serüvenimizi. Özellikle son 2 sene. 2 çalışmalarımızı. Afterwards, Yelta will explain the last 2 years coordinating Istanbul episode. And Suha will explain your own initiative, Migration Jam, and also Silent University involvement, and some general input. Suha da onun sonrasında Migration Jam'i anlatacak ve genel olarak bu mülteci meselesi üzerine sorularınız olursa onları da cevaplayacak. Birlikte cevaplayacağız. Silent University started first in London. And the idea was that everybody has right to educate. Herkesin eğitim vermeye hakkı vardır fikriyle başladı Londra'da. 2012 senesinde ilk etkinliklerimizi yaptık. We did our first event in 2012. Burada ilk katılan akademisyenlerin isimlerini de görüyorsunuz. Bazılarının isimleri gizli, fotoğrafları da gizli. İkinci slaytta da geldikleri ülkelerde ne yaptıklarını görüyorsunuz profesyonel olarak. So you see the first group of lecturers of Silent University from Stockholm and London here, and here you see what they used to do back in their countries, and then here you see their names, and some of them are hidden, so we could only use the initials of their names and silhouettes. So the idea was that we work with academicians, they have professional background in their countries, but when they arrive to new countries, it's not recognized, their knowledge is not recognized, and they are not able to actively work as academics because they don't even have their basic documents. Yani bütün fikir kendi ülkelerinde kendi profesyonel geçmişleri olup, akademisyen geçmişleri olup, geldikleri ülkelerde en basit dokümanları olmadan geldikleri için bunu aktive edemeyen akademisyenlerle bir okul kurmaktı. Sessiz Üniversite, Silent Üniversite'nin ilk kuruluşundaki amaç ve halen de en temelindeki amaç o. Şimdi bunu yapmak biraz zordu. Bazı insanları tehlikeye sokabilecek bir durum oluyordu. Böyle gidip sunum yapmak izleyici karşısında. It was a dangerous thing for some of our participants to go do a public presentation. O yüzden bazı deneyler yaptık. Hakikaten yüzlerini kapatarak sunum yapanlar vardı. Sesini kullanmayarak sunum yapanlar vardı ilk sene. Yani bu deneyleri yaptık. Daha sonraki yıllarda bu aynı kişiler mesela burada işte Bridget'in olduğu gibi yüzünü gösterebildi. Mesela 2 sene sonra Bridget yüzünü gösterebildi. It was risky for some people, as I said. So we started with some experiments hiding their identity, but we still want to do this public encounters in front of audience without putting them in risk. And over the years, like in London, in Bridget's case, when they get their permit, and it's no longer dangerous, we could share their name and their faces in front of public in our next public events. So we had this kind of tactics to be able to immediately activate the knowledge, academic knowledge of every Silent University member. Yani böylelikle herkesi ilk baştan itibaren sunum yapabilecek bir şekilde, izleyicinin karşısına çıkabilecek bir şekilde metodolojilerle bu Silent University aktivitelerini gerçekleştirebildik en başından itibaren. Burada farklı dillerde sunumlar var. Mesela işte Nuri Kürtçe bir sunum yapıyor, hukuk üzerine. Nuri is doing a presentation here in Kurdish about being a lawyer and also refugee convention. Öbür tarafta Behnam Arapça bir sunum yapıyor. Behnam is doing in Arabic a presentation about calligraphy. So every lecture had was happening in preferred language. Her sunumu yapan akademisyenin tercih ettiği dilde yapıldı. Bu diğer bir prensibimiz. Anyone was able to register. Imagine in 2011 we were thinking about alternative currencies as well. And skill and time exchange. So it was not a university school that you pay to register, but you can register with offering hours, some hours or your skills. 2011'den itibaren işte düşünürken böyle bir sistem düşündük. Kendi zamanını ve yeteneklerini sunarak kaydolabileceğin bir okul düşündük. Yani para vererek kaydolduğun bir okul değil. Birçok da insan o dönem web sitemize kaydolmuştu. Yani işte bu son şeyde 1800 tane saat bağışlanmış. O saatlerin içerisinde her bir farklı yetenekleri olan insanlar buna katılmış ve o katılımcılarla da biz üyelerle işte o şeyi işbirliğini yaptık. We did those exchanges when people donated their hours and skills, their time and skills. They did help Silent University organize events in different places. For instance, we did an event in Oxford with the coordination of PhD students and master students over there. Mesela Oxford'da öyle bir etkinliği kaydolan birkaç kişinin yardımıyla organize ettik. Burada bir Silent University'nin nadir toplanabildiğimiz, çünkü sınırlar arası yolculuk yapamıyor çoğu katılımcı. Yapabilenlerle toplanma gerçekleştirmiştik 2016'da Mülheim şubesinde. It's not easy to travel for most of Silent University participants because of legal limitations. They were not able to travel cross border, but some of them did. So we did a unique gathering in 2016 together with the book that's on the table. Bir de kitap yayınladık o dönem. O kitaba da bakabilirsiniz. At some point it became like 5-6 different branches. Bir noktada 5-6 şubeye çıkmıştı. Hatta Amman ve Atina'ya kadar gitmişti Silent University şubeleri. It traveled all the way to Amman and also Athens, and each branch is supposed to stay forever actually, but it needs this kind of local kind of motivation, also infrastructure locally developed. Yani her şubenin aslında sürekli devam etmesini arzuluyoruz. Ama bazıları birkaç sene devam ediyor, bazıları kendini yenileyip devam edebiliyorlar. Mesela Mülheim ve Stockholm'daki şube 10 seneyi buluyor şu anda, aralıksız devam ettiler. Direktörler değişse bile. For instance, in Stockholm and in Mülheim in Germany, we have branches that's pretty much 1 decade or 10 years has been continuing. Even the directors and curators has changed. People took over themselves to run those branches. These are the collaborating institutions. Bunlar işbirliği yaptığımız kurumlar, aşağıda logoları olan. İşte en aktif, aralıksız devam eden 2 şube, Stockholm and Mülheim, without a break. This is the publication. Burada görebilirsiniz kitabı. And this is when we got the award, Festival Award, an or event in Oxford University. İşte o 2013'te aldığımız ödülde Oxford University'de bir etkinlik yapmıştık. Yani orada ilginç olan zaten çok kısa bir sürede 2 yıl sonra Çok prestijli okullarla, oradaki profesörlerle aynı masada bizim akademisyenler sunum yapmaya başlamıştı yani. Only after 2 years they were doing presentations next to a professor from Oxford or another university, and this was very immediate achievement of Silent University, that it is very possible to do that when you are organized. This is a meeting in Amman. We are rewriting the principles in Arabic, so it's very different than writing in English. Discussing every single word. Bizim prensipleri Arapçaya çevirirken ortak yazdığımız süreç Amman'da. Oradaki sunumlardan birini yapan, Musul'dan kaçan, ISIS saldırılarından kaçan bir profesör, tarih profesörü. Yine isminin ilk harflerini bile yazamamıştık. This professor, we couldn't even share his first initials of his name and or face because he was highly in danger. But we were able to do still a lecture after him hiding 6 months at home in Amman. This is Athens, Atina'dan birkaç görüntü. Hamburg'da Hamburg'daki şubemizde kendi yaptıkları bir buluşmadan görüntüler. This is some images from Hamburg, some gatherings. Copenhagen. There was many different. This is like a Nordic network. Kuzey ülkelerinin buluşmasıydı. Helsinki, Stockholm, Copenhagen, Silent University Network'ü oralarda. Fahima, Stockholm'de uzun yıllardır buradaydı, Eylül'de tanıştı Suha'yla. Orada haftada 2 kere Language Cafe ve Citizen sunumlar, buluşmalar yapıyor yeni gelenler için. Fahima is doing this gatherings twice a week in Stockholm, and she has been doing it so many years now, running and coordinating Silent University. And these are images, and she's also doing now gardening, teaching language through gardening. Bahçe de kurdu orada ki kurumun yanında. Onun üzerinden İsveççe ve Arapça da öğretiyor Fahima. Bu Mülheim'da Silent Üniversitesi'nin kontrolünü ele geçiren katılımcıları daha önce işte Alman bir küratör tarafından yürütülen şubeyi 3. senesinde bu bizim ekip devraldı. This is the Silent University coordinators from Mülheim. They were first members and they became coordinators after a few years, taking it over from the German curator there, and now they are also managing the finances of the project as well. Böyle hızlı hızlı geçiyorum. Orası da akademi gibi işliyor. Bu International Women Empowerment Network sırf kadınlar için kadınlar arasında da örgütlenme var mesela Mülheim'de. Karışık toplantıların dışında karışık toplantılara katılamayan kadınların da bir araya geldiği bir network kurdu mesela Bridget orada. Yani her Silent University şubesi kendine göre formatını yeniliyor oradaki ihtiyaçlara göre. Every branch of Silent University change the format according to local needs in every city, every branch. I'm going to skip this part. These are some thinkers, some other people, what they say about Silent University. Buraları biraz geçiyorum. Bunlar Silent University üzerine yazılmış şeyler. Yani bizim için önemli olan what is important for us, decentralized, participatory, horizontal and autonomous modality of education. Yani merkezi olmayan, yatay, herkesin katılabildiği ve bağımsız bir eğitim sistemi üzerine kurulu Silent University'nin mantığı. Böyle bir sistem üzerinden kurumlarla işbirliği yapıyor, üniversitelerle, sanat kurumlarıyla ve kendisi parasitik bir kurum olarak o kurumlarla sadece marjinalize, bağımsız çalışmıyor, çalıştığı kurumları da dönüştüren bir oluşum. It transforms the institutions it works with, collaborates with. It's not just an independent marginal organization. It does transform all the institutions it collaborates. These are the principles in different languages, in Greek, in Arabic, in English, and more. And now I'm coming to today, Yelta will take over.
Thank you very much. Okay, my mic is working. All right, I'm gonna hold it in two languages as well. I hope I will be successful as Ahmet were, but ben de iki dilde yapacağım. Silent University, the Silent University Orientation Program actually we initiated like 3 years ago with Hamburg Kunstverein and Istanbul Biennial. Actually, the idea was the Hamburg Kunstverein invited Silent University for a digital project, and we were thinking like to make a kind of online platform because the idea of the Silent University is also based on the website, as Ahmet mentioned before, the exchanging the skills. Yaklaşık 3 sene önce Kunstverein, Hamburg'daki Kunstverein Silent University'yi davet etti ve bu davet sonucunda bir online, daha dijital bir proje nasıl olabilir diye konuşurken bunu bir online platform halinde yapabiliriz diye düşündük. Ve bununla beraber bazı lecture'lar kaydetmeye başladık. With the invitation of the Hamburg Kunstverein, we started to make some video recordings of the lectures. And it was one of the first time that, the Silent University has, like a proper video recordings, also as a kind of opportunity to connect all the different branches in one platform. It's also a bit like, thanks to the pandemic at that time, because it was also difficult to meet in the physical, and we were thinking, okay, so it was a good idea to start this process online. Tam böyle pandeminin zamanlarına denk geldiği için ve bir yandan da işte Silent University'nin diğer tüm şubelerinin bir araya gelebileceği bir projeye dönüştü ve bununla beraber Mülheim'de, Stockholm'de, İzmir'de, İstanbul'da farklı lecture'lar kaydettik. Bu lecture'ların çoğu daha önceki Silent University katılımcılarının lecture'larının sunumlarının tekrar çekilmesi, onların yeni konular paylaşılmasıydı. Bir yandan da aslında İstanbul'da başlamak istediğimiz Silent University branch içinde tohumları atmamızın sebebiydi. When we started to do lecturings, we started to make it with former lectures of the Silent University, and also it was a kind of a chance for us to seed a new branch in Istanbul. Also, why we're calling the orientation program, usually, for the universities, you will have an orientation program, you will get to know the university, you will get to know what you are going to have at the university. That's why the Istanbul orientation program is a kind of a chance to meet and to exchange the ideas. And in Istanbul, actually, we luckily meet with Amal and Suha. They're the first contacts for us in Istanbul, who actually Suha will explain much more better, but they're also running their own practice about the migration. It's called Migration Jam. Ve aslında İstanbul'a geldiğimizde böyle çok büyük bir şans ile Amal ve Suha ile tanıştık. Ve onlarla beraber Silent University İstanbul'un ilk tohumlarını atmaya başladık. Aslında kendi pratikleri var. Suha birazdan onlardan bahsedecek. Because what is important for the Silent University also to engage with the locals, local people from who are dealing with the migrant issue. We don't want to make it like a top-down progress. I know Silent University is not coming to the town and establishing a university with the colonial approach or stuff. Silent University is always trying to empower the local or what's existed in the field in the city already. That's why to meet with the Migration Jam was kind of a big chance for it. Silent University için gerçekten önemli olan böyle tepeden inme bir süreçle ilerlemek ya da işte eski alışılmış kolonyal pratiklerle ilerlemek değil. Oradaki aslında şehirde hali hazırda var olan networkleri tanımak ve onların içerisinden bir söylem oluşturup böyle işbirlikleri yapmakta. O yüzden Migration Jam'in böyle bir özel bir şey de var projenin içerisinde. When you check our website, it's called silentuniversity.org. There's also kind of a QR code you can reach. When you register yourself, you can reach all the lectures we recorded. We had lectures from Bridget about the migration issues in Germany, but there are also human rights issues. They're sharing their own experience, but also their own struggles. Eğer Silent University web sayfasını kontrol ederseniz ve oraya girip üye olursanız herkes üye olsun lütfen. I'm going to recommend to everyone to be a member of the Silent University web page because this is the only way you can watch all the lectures. Also, to be a part of the community, then you can get news, you can get updates from us. Ve web sayfasında farklı lecture'lar şu an yer alıyor. Yani oraya kaydolup oradan böyle devam edebiliyorsunuz. Bizim daha önceki işte Bridget ya da Amin Bola'nın böyle paylaştığı lecture'lar var. Onlar böyle daha çok migration knowledge nedir? İşte göçmen bilgisi nasıl üretilir? Bu göçmen bilgisinin etrafında yeni bir sistem nasıl kurulur? The lectures are about the migration knowledge, how we are going to produce a migration knowledge, or what kind of strategies we can develop to keep the migration knowledge. And also we were collaborating with some other local initiatives, for example, İmece, it's an initiative in İzmir. İzmir'den de İmece inisiyatifiyle bir işbirliği yaptık. They are also running workshops with women, and they're like empower the women migrant communities over there. Maybe I can tell some other stuff from the Silent University orientation program. As you know, I mean, one of the things the Silent University is trying to do, is shifting the idea of the institutional practices. Silent University'nin ana amaçlarından biri bir anlamda kurumsal yaklaşımları ya da halihazırda olan kurumsal sistemleri değiştirmek. Bunu ne demeye çalışıyoruz? Çünkü bildiğiniz gibi Silent University tam da biraz önce Ahmet'in bahsettiği gibi bazı Silent University'nin parçalarında olan insanların kimi zaman kağıdı yok, kimi zaman tehlike içindeler, kimi zaman normal standart bir kurumun anlayamayacağının ötesinde durumlarla karşılaşmak mümkün. The main idea of the Silent University is like shifting the ideas of the institutional practices. What I mean, because as Ahmet mentioned before, we are working with people who are in danger, who doesn't have any documents, and that's why when you encounter with a standard institutional mind, you need to struggle with it, you need to challenge them. What I mean is one of the best example I really like to talk about it. Whenever we met with Ahmet, the director of the institution for Silent University, the second meeting we're always asking, okay, let's meet with the accountant department. Because that's in Silent University orientation program, we are trying kind of a fair payment system for everyone. And when you met with a especially West European centric accountant, and when you're going to tell them, this person doesn't have a tax number, then they have the blue screen. There's nothing. That's why we're always challenging them, or not challenging, we're just trying to tell them, you should find a way. Because this is how it's going to change the institutional practices. Çok vermeyi sevdiğim örneklerden biri işte ne zaman bir kurumun direktörüyle bir toplantıya girsek ikinci sorduğumuz soru işte finans departmanıyla bir toplantı yapmak oluyor. Çünkü böyle daha batılı, beyaz herhangi birisiyle karşılaşıp işte bu böyle birinin ödemesi nasıl yapılacağı konusu bir meseleye dönüşmeye başlıyor. Ve kimi zaman işte bunun böyle mücadelesine inip onların böyle çalışma şekillerini değiştirmek gerekiyor. Bu böyle çok gayet önemsediğimiz bir konu. Burada yine aslında bu dönemki Silent University Orientation Program, burada da görebileceğiniz lecture'ların daha önce Almanya'da yaptıkları şeyler var. There are also some other or lectures are having some other events. And maybe I should also highlight it, how the Silent University works. I mean, Ahmet already mentioned, but the autonomy is one of the keystone of the Silent University. The Silent University has really a lot of branches. They're also running their own system, and sometimes, I mean, for me, I engage with the Silent University for 3-4 more years. But this is a kind of a platform when you're engaged, and you can also get to know. This is a kind of, really a kind of exchange platform when you put something and when you get something. That's, and I think this keeps the idea. It's not disorganized. It's very well organized, autonomous way. This is all the time, I'm appreciated. Ve kimi zaman yani böyle bu otonom halinden ötürü de Silent University'nin tüm branchları kendi arasında ödüller de alıyor, işte etkinliklere de gidiyor. Böyle farklı karşılaşmalar yaşanıyor. Belki son olarak İstanbul'daki şu an yaptığımız şeyden bahsedebilirim. I'm going to mention lastly what we are doing in Istanbul. In Istanbul we have two spaces. One is in SAHA Studio and the other one is in Gazane. SAHA Studio'daki mekanımız biraz daha böyle bilgi paylaşımı, yani bir hub gibi. Hani buraya gelip hem Silent Üniversitesi'nde bilgiler alabiliyorsunuz, işte eski okumalarını, bizim kaynaklarımızı görebiliyorsunuz. It's a kind of a space that you can look through the archives, the resources we are using it. Also, the idea of the Silent University you can get to know. This is a kind of a hub for Silent University. And what we did during the Istanbul Biennial opening, we organized a kind of a lunch. Maybe you can mention about it afterwards, what kind of food we have, because I have this limited information. And also at Gazane, I mean, when you have time, you should also visit it. We have the 6 lectures. I mean, you can have it, you can listen it, you can enjoy, and you can spend your time over there. This is the installation. We also, in the Gazane, we have another shelf and the computer system. You can also look through different resources of the Silent University. And maybe today after the talk, if you like to have or some Silent University pencils, you can come and take it. Okay, I'm the program coordinator. That's why I need to tell this kind of stuff. Çok teşekkürler. I'm going to pass the word to Suha.
Thank you. Thank you for Ahmed and Yelta. Would you understand me if I speak English, or do you need translation? Can you raise your hand if we need translation? We can do that. Translation is here. You can help.
Kısaca Türkçe'ye özetleyeceğiz. Tamam.
Okay. I will try to be also short in English. Thanks for coming today. I'm Suha. I think my name got mentioned across many times in this conversation, and talk through in this how I got to know Silent University, what we're doing here, and what is Migration Jam, the initiative that me and my partner Amal, who's currently in Sudan, working together for the past years. First, when we got to know, before I go to Migration Jam, 2 years ago, I met Ahmed, and he told me about this project, Silent University, and my initial first reaction was like, why it's not in Turkey? While it's a project focused on migrant, and Turkey has the highest number of migrants, and also both they're from Turkey, so that was very strange for me. And then together we worked on this orientation program was already in progress, and that was the start on how can we bring the project to Turkey. And we recorded this lecture that you can find on the website presenting Migration Jam, what are we doing? So that was also new to me, that we can be lecturers in this concept of Silent University. And that's why this slogan, you see, everyone has the right to educate. Usually people focus on receiving education as a right, but it's also giving education, and sharing knowledge is also the right. You have received this knowledge and built your knowledge, and suddenly you lose your right of delivering this knowledge because of papers and language and many barriers as migrants. And that takes a lot of people's personality. If someone is an educator or that's their main field, they kind of lost everything they have in their lives in terms of presenting or sharing this knowledge. Do you want to give a little brief?
A little bit. Evet. İlk tanıştığımızda şeyi merak etmiş, niye Türkiye'de yok? 10 senedir olmasına rağmen aklına gelen soru. Çünkü buradaki mülteci kapandı. Bir de genel olarak bahsettiğim bazı şeylerden yine Suha bahsetmiş oldu. Yani bu kişilik oluşumunda bu bariyerlerin yarattığı sıkıntılardan bahsetti. O da çok önemli yani. O yüzden akademik bilginin aktive edilmesinden bahsetti. Devam et. I do shortest.
Yeah. And as a quick introduction, I'm originally from Syria and Palestinian, and I live here for the past years. And I have a strategic communication background, and together with Amal, my partner in the project, we are working on Migration Jam for the past 3 years, since 2019. And Migration Jam first event was in Istanbul, actually, 2019, just before COVID, and then everything turned to online. So what is Migration Jam as a summary? Migration Jam is a project and initiative working to use storytelling to change the general mainstream narrative about migrations and refugees. Unfortunately, now in the whole world, not just in Turkey, there is always like narratives about migrants, negative narratives in the mainstream. Migrants are coming to take your space, migrants are coming to take your work, migrants are the reason of economical problems. And these stories develop to dangerous levels in many ways and starting to affect our lives also and our perspective about ourselves. So we wanted to claim our stories back because usually these stories are not told by migrants, they are told about migrants. Most of these stories that we hear, it's not through migrants, they're not telling them.
2019'da başlıyorlar. İlk etkinliği İstanbul'da yapıyorlar. Migration Jam. Tabii mülteci meselesindeki sorun mültecilerin gelip buraya işte buradaki işleri almaları, burada işgal etmeleri, hem yer işgali hem iş işgali vesaire bu tip söylemler var. Ama bu söylemler zaten buna karşı yapılan söylemler bile mülteciler tarafından yapılmadığı için böyle bir dezenformasyon oluyor ve onun için zaten bunun bir aciliyetini hissedip bu inisiyatifi başlatıyorlar.
Thank you. Why storytelling? Because these stories that are told about us are shaping us. Everyone, we all have stories, and when your story is always about you. So if I tell anyone here, not here in this setting, but like in the country, when I go, I am Syrian, they immediately put me in that box. They have the story, and they take my space to introduce myself. Who am I as a human? They put me in this circle of the story. So these stories became to affect us in many levels, and they're shaping our current and they're shaping our future, because then they are limiting our opportunities, our possibilities to interact with people, our job opportunities, education, and also creativity. Like it takes also from creativity, unfortunately. It kind of kills your creativity because people don't have the way to express who are they. They become migrants and refugees within these borders.
Neden hikaye anlatma? Zaten hakkımızda anlatılan bir sürü hikaye var. Mesela Suriyeliyim dediğim zaman zaten orada hazırda olan bir kutunun içerisine yerleştiriyorlar o tanımı. Hakkımızda ön yargılar var. Ama biz o yüzden kendi hikayelerimizi kendimiz anlatmanın zamanı geldiğini düşünüp inisiyatifi kendi ellerimize aldık dedi özetle.
And what do we do in practice? We have 4 pillars. We do events, educational events. We design these events and manage them, like webinars and panel discussion. Our community is diverse and it's all over different locations and from many different countries. In these events, from 2019 until today, we had 70 plus speakers from 30 plus locations, and it was all first to exchange also within the migration community. There is a lot to learn. Someone from Nigeria is talking to someone from Syria, and someone from Palestine talking to someone from Afghanistan. Together we needed to discuss as well and share experiences and to know about people who found ways. If someone comes to you and say there is a way to go out from where you are and how you're stuck, but there is no practical steps. So we wanted to exchange these practical steps together. So it's not just external objective, but also internal objective through these events. We do strategic communications as in from strategies, branding, social media management, graphics, illustration, many different creatives corner to work on sharing more and more content related to our stories and to change the way of how migrants and refugees are presented. Even unfortunately with international humanitarian organizations, when they talk about, for example, in Yemen, we worked with an organization in Yemen, and they put always kids and refugees in the very inhumane positions with like mud on their faces, holding a piece of bread, help us please. This way of presenting migrants always as needy, as like you look at them always with pityness. It affects how you see the person. Although you can still have donation, you can still work on your project without affecting this person's image of themselves and their future. I'll stop.
You tell a lot. I will try to kısa bir şekilde özetleyeceğim. Bunlar Migration Jam'in stratejileri. Yine dediğim gibi bu çok diverse, çok çeşitli bir kitleden bahsediyoruz. Herkes aynı ülkeden gelmiyor. Farklı farklı geçmişleri olan insanlar, farklı kuşaklardan. Bunun sunumu nasıl yapılıyor? Stratejik olarak bu nasıl, iletişimi nasıl yapılıyor? İçerik nasıl üretiliyor? Meseleler üzerine daha sistematik düşünen bir kurum. Normalde stratejik olarak yani genel medyanın yaptığı bir bağış toplarıyla yaptıkları işte orada ajitasyon dilini kullanıp bir çocuğu mesela Yemen'deki örneği verdi. İşte yoksul, yardıma ihtiyacı olan yani mültecilere sürekli böyle medyada gösterildiği için bunun tam tersi bir stratejiyle hep böyle ihtiyacı olan bir imaj çizmek yerine kendi kendine inisiyatifini alabilen, kendi estetiği olan, kendi stratejileri olan bir örgütlenme Migration'ca.
The other two things we do, summary is content production, is in animation videos, creatives videos, storytelling videos, and we do podcasts and we're gonna do that's how our friends was recording here. We're gonna have a podcast about this residency as well. And we do art and cultural events where we do movie screenings, exhibitions, music events, and with storytelling, dialogue is very important. So today, I don't want us to be just engaging just from our end. I would love to hear from your side. We'll come to it in a second. This is some of the team members because it's not about one person. We're a collective of people from very different countries, from Syria, Palestine, Lebanon, Iran, Egypt, Tunis, Mali, Kenya, South Sudan. Is a lot of places, and together we're working on this project. This is just quick from we had a movie screening here in Istiklal in French Cultural Center in February, where we had 4 movies. And it was the first time these international movies directed by refugees coming to Turkey. Although they're not new movies, but unfortunately there is a huge gap between what's happening in Europe in relation to refugees and migrants and what's happening in Turkey. There's not much, like these movies go to festivals all over the world, but they did not come here. And the first reaction that we received from migrants was like, why can't we see these movies? Why these movies are talking about us all over the world and no one come and show it to us? It's also important that you hear what is told about your story.
Bizim ekip çok büyük bir ekip dedi biraz önce. Dünyanın her yerinden gelen insanlar var. Yani sadece 2 kişi değiller. Bir de yaptıkları etkinlikler arasında böyle bir Fransız Kültür Merkezi'nde yaptıkları 4 filmden oluşan bir film programı var. Ve oradaki tepkiler de zaten bu filmler bütün dünyanın her gösterilip niye burada hiç gösterilmedi gibi bir yorum almışlar.
This was the event we had in Women's Day this year. Although there was snow and storm, like 30 plus people managed to come. And it was very interesting. We had a bazaar and we had some sweets were made from some collectives here. But also we had discussions about, because we didn't want women event to also be about food and handmade projects, to be honest. So we also had a conversation on consent. What is consent, but within the youth? And that was super interesting. There is a group called Conversation with Consent, and they manage these discussions. And it was interesting to see the reflections within different groups about that.
Dünya Kadınlar Günü için yaptıkları bir etkinlik. Sadece yemek ve kadınların katıldığı bir etkinlik olsun istememişler. Kısa özet.
And today, just to bring the conversation, to here in Turkey. So I don't know how many of us knows what's happening in Turkey, in Istanbul, with migrants. I'll give you a little bit information, but also would like to hear from your end. Are you following these updates? Do you know what are the refugees or migrants are going through in Turkey?
Türkiye'deki durumdan ne kadar haberdarsınız bilmiyorum ama burada çok önemli bilgiler var. Sizden de duymak istiyorum diyor.
Would anyone want to share something? Are you following the news of?
Takip ediyor musunuz mültecilerle ilgili Türkiye'deki son durumları, gelişmeleri?
We saw some on TikTok. Like there's one boy. He made like a reportage. What is that?
Yeah.
Interview.
Yes, and then with a bunch of like old Turkish men, and then suddenly they attack him. Said like you took our back to your country. You took like this, and it's become viral. And he just like, look, I'm just a student here. We are talking about something else. Why all of a sudden? Oh yeah, he was talking about something else, but all of a sudden they're attacking him because like I think he's a Syrian boy. You came here, and then they just like Turkey was better before you guys came here. It's like it just broke my heart. It was like he's just a student because I'm a teacher. Then just he's a student. He doesn't know. It's just like for his project and all. Why did you do that? Oh my God, I'm just going. Okay, that's one of the that I heard that I saw.
This is kind of, maybe it's good to start with the story because why these things are happening. Unfortunately, I'm going to talk just about this year, and I'm not going to go news by news, but in general, migrants in Turkey, and as we come closer to the election, unfortunately, migrants and refugees are the main reason of why all these problems in the country are, and they're hanging all the problems on migrants. Economical, rent increase, anything related to problems is now the reason of migrants. And what is not mentioned that much, unfortunately, since January, now we are in October, 10 months, thousands of temporary protection cards have been cancelled for Syrian refugees in Turkey. Not many are talking about it. Recently, there was a report by Human Rights Watch that was published that talks about the forced deportations, and they try to, in the media, I think, to flip it a bit, but this was one of the main reports recently that at least touch about this topic.
Son bir senede binlerce insanın geçici oturumu iptal edilmiş. Son bir seneden bahsedeceğim dedi.
Yeah. And what is a temporary protection card? So refugees don't have, there is no refugee status in Turkey. You don't apply for asylum in Turkey. You get a temporary protection card with very limited support, and also it limits your movement. You cannot move from one city to another. If you are migrants with temporary protection card, you need an approval to move. My friend's wedding was in Bursa, and her family was in another city. And although they're both in Turkey, she had to invite them by Zoom because they did not get an approval to come to her wedding.
Türkiye'de normal uluslararası standartlarda iltica etme, yani asylum seeking prosesi aynı değil. Bu geçici oturum kartlarını veriyorlar. İkametgah bir şehre bağlı oluyor. O şehirde olunca da başka bir şehirdeki akrabalarını gidip ziyaret edemiyorsunuz bile.
I'm not going to go too much into details because unfortunately there is a lot relation to migrant status in Turkey. But I think it's very important that we know more about what's happening and to read more about what's happening with migrants, and to, when we meet a migrant, to show more support because they need it at this time. There are people literally hiding in their houses for the last 3-4 months because they are scared to go out and to find that their temporary protection are cancelled and to face deportation.
Bunları daha iyi yakından takip etmek gerekiyor, bu gelişmeleri. Evlerinde son 3 aydır saklanan insanlar var. Dışarı çıkmaya korkup o geçici oturumlarının iptal olmasından çekinen insanlar var. Evden çıkmayan son 3 aydır.
These are some examples of what we can do. Like there is, we can support them with solidarity, with love, with compassion, and with collaboration. There's a lot of projects here in Istanbul. There are small restaurants, small cafes, projects handmade. Like there's a lot of projects going on that we can go and support them financially and collaborate with them. Recruitment is very important because job opportunities are getting less and less available. So that's also helpful. And engaging in these discussions. So everyone who's here, I really want to thank you because it's very important that we talk about this.
Buna nasıl dahil olabilirsiniz? Birkaç önerisi var Süha'nın. Yardımlaşma, işbirliği, birlikte çalışma, destek, ondan sonra işe almak ve bu diyaloglara devam etmek. Şu an yaptığımız gibi katkıda bulunmak istediğiniz herhangi bir başka bir konu varsa bu konu üzerinde paylaşmak istediğiniz Suha burada.
Thank you. And what else is for you? Like, what else would you think of? What can be helpful? Because we don't have the answers, all of them. What can you think of that can be helpful beside work and support and solidarity and discussions?
Bunların dışında başka neler yapılabilir? Biz de mesela Silent University önerisiyle geldik ama aslında yapılabilecek çok şey var. Bu tipik olarak yapılabilecek şeyler dışında.
I don't know if anyone have any ideas because it's always helpful.
Can I give an example?
Yeah.
It's not official in my building because I live in Esenler and it's a ghetto place. Like it's just some Turkish, some gypsies, and some are Syrians. It's a little bit scary, but I'm okay. Like I love it. What happened? What's going on in our building? Mostly we have this. Like on the top floor there are Syrians, and then some Turkish, and then me as Indonesian. We have we exchange food between us. It's like there is no saying we have to do that, but however we do that. Like it started by the Syrian people on the top, so it's like on Friday they send us food and then to everyone, and then so I feel like, oh, I want to also send my food, so I made Indonesian food and I sent to everyone tabak like this. And by that time the Turkish people who's living there feel like touch, like I sent, automatically you have to send also, because I sent you already, she sent you, so she also doing that, and it becomes like now we know each other. So at least when we go up and down we say hi, because the other building I was living, it's like sanadem banane. Something like I don't know you, khalas, get down, up, khalas. But this building, it's quite good. Like we could start from simple thing. Like actually now it works because now in our building it's safe enough. If like from another people trying to do something with the kids of our building, even me when I say it, like that's my building kid. Don't touch him. Don't touch her. Mm-hmm. And also like some people playing something and then they're fighting or something, and then the man in our building, like they suddenly go out and hang out in the front of our building. The Syrian, the Turkish, like just talking. Just to let them know, don't touch this building. Mm-hmm. Whoever inside. That's a really good example that I experienced my building. So if we could spread these simple things, it may be like start from bina by bina, building by building. I'm sorry, wallahi, my language is
I think
building by building, like through this kind of thing. Like she's living somewhere, start from that. She's living in the other building, start from that. Sending food, one plate, they also will send you, and then it will be like that. It's really, to me, it's really amazing.
I think this is how this country survives so far. So also internally, because this is a place, from a former empire where there was so many minorities coexisting, co-living in neighborhoods. There was maybe no buildings, but villages, small neighborhoods, and there was always this kind of exchange, and food plays an important role when especially language is not enough. So food definitely also shows care. So this is very important, absolutely. And this has been happening, but in big cities it gets harder. And also with the media it gets harder you know, what we see, the narrative in the media, it changes. But among people, there is already this kind of solidarity. That's very important. That's how this kind of countries also survives. You know, if only everything is up to the media or mainstream storytelling, it wouldn't work. But we also do this work in European countries where you think it's more democratic systems for open to all kinds of diverse backgrounds and so on, but unfortunately that's not the case. Also in the education system, that's not the case. That's why we need silent university. We needed to start silent university over there, because here people are actually used to have to survive with the solidarity between the communities and within their communities, and there everything rely on the state and, you know, institutional systems, and when you are outside of it, you are totally outside of it, and there is nothing like that exists. Only within the isolated communities that exist, and that becomes isolated diaspora, isolated marginal community, and that's really and that's pushed away from the city centers and so on. And this happens here also in big cities more, but when you go to smaller cities, the people actually comes back from like few hundred years with this background, but this memory is being erased, and now it needs to come back because it's a really diverse world we live in. With the new things, developments happening right now. Yeah.
And thanks for this example. I think it's exactly these small actions that we can do in our daily lives that can make a big difference. There is some things that I try sometimes beside, like of course the events that we're doing, but on a personal level, you can do these things. You can share some love to people. You can show respect. This affects. There is very little, believe me, very little of this love shared. And people are shaking in their houses. They need that love at this moment. And in this year, people are so terrified. And they need this solidarity to as much as we can, and to give that. And as you said, it starts and then it will be fluid. It's nice. It's the engagement of us, and we're sharing these spaces together. So thanks for sharing the example.
We don't want to keep everybody so long, but if you have any questions, we are happy to answer. Otherwise, we are here. You can also come approach us. We will be here. Yeah. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.